Hi guys, I wanted to give you some additional information about topic 8.2. You do not have to listen to these videos, but if you want a little additional support, they might be helpful for you. So topic 8.2 has to do with Cold War policies, which Cold War is going to be the time following World War II. As you can see, it's going to start in 1945 and it's going to last until the 1990s when the Soviet Union falls apart and becomes 15 separate republics that it is today. So Cold War is basically a rivalry between the United States. It's an ideological or a different set of beliefs. It has to do with nuclear warfare. It has to do with sports like the Olympics. It has to do with the space race. It has to do with just so many different aspects of society. At one point, there was actually a debate over which country, the United States or the Soviet Union, had better kitchens. So it went from the very serious, like nuclear warfare, all the way down to kind of what seems silly to probably most of us. Um, if you need more info than what I'm giving you, please feel free to check out the crash course assignment on the Cold War. If you want to do the note taker, you can, and you can turn it in. If you don't want to do it, don't do it, but that's a great resource for you as well. So I really like this graphic right here. As you can see, it shows you way over on the left-hand side, the most state control, and that is with the theocracy and communism. Theocracies are strict religious governments, for example, like Iran today. But you can see communism is even further left or more state control than fascism. And this has to do with under communism, the government controls the factors of production, which are land, labor, and capital. And under fascism, they do allow for some free market or free enterprise to exist. Of course, under their rules, but yet still it does exist. So kind of a cool graphic organizer. So the Cold War is really going to start actually kind of as World War II is ending. I love this image here. This is from the Yalta Conference. Sitting in this photograph are Winston Churchill, Franklin Roosevelt, and Joseph Stalin. Yesterday, so today is April 13th. So yesterday, April 12th, was the 75th anniversary of Franklin Roosevelt passing away. And this Yalta conference took place in February, and you can see how frail he looks, how old he looks, how tired he looks. So I love this photograph. I think it's really cool. So at the Yalta conference, they determine what post-war Germany is going to look like, and they also, Stalin promises to allow free elections in Eastern Europe. And they also decide that the Soviet Union will join in the war in the Pacific at a given time. So Yalta Conference was an important conference for those reasons. This is post-war Germany. It is divided into 4 sections or 4 zones. You can see that the British, French, and American are on the western side, and then the Soviet zone is in red. Also take a note of the capital Berlin. I think my cursor will do this. The capital Berlin was also divided into 4 zones, so the same zones. Now, a couple important things about Berlin and about the division of Germany is that once the United States, Britain, and France decided to combine their zones into what will become West Germany, Soviet Union is going to retaliate with a Berlin blockade, which means they're going to stop all the railroads and all the highway travel into West Berlin. So basically, they're going to try to starve out West Berlin, starve out the West, and get them to kind of, do what they want them to do. So all these zones here are going to be blocked, all these highways and railroads. So how does the West retaliate? Well, they retaliate with the Berlin airlift, which is a really remarkable thing where these planes take off day in, day out. Watch this little video if you'd like on it. It's really a cool thing that happened. And eventually the Soviets do back down and West Berlin does survive. There's over 1 million people living in West Berlin. So this was a very precarious situation. Now, one other thing about the Berlin Wall, which is going to come and be built in 1961, so that's going to be a little bit different, and that is going to be built basically in this area here, okay, and some of it will go around as needed. But this is going to be to keep the East Berliners from going into the West Zone. So they're going to try to get into the West Zone because, hey, in the West, you've got free market, you've got free speech, you've got civil liberties, you've got free enterprise, democracy, and in the East, it's under communism. I like this picture right here because you can see the Eastern zone over here on the left side is blank. All the wall is not written on, and you can see it's a double wall kind of situation. The West side has a ton of artwork on it, and that's because the West Berliners could come right on up to the wall. The East Berliners could not, and in some cases, East Berliners who approached the wall were shot because many East Berliners attempted to escape East Berlin over the wall. So this is going to be a little later. This is in 1961, but when that Berlin Wall comes down, that's going to symbolize the end of the Soviet Union's control over East Germany. So very symbolic and also very important symbol of this time. All right, one other thing, excuse me, that many of my sophomores, when we talk about this, get this a little bit confused. In 1946, Winston Churchill delivers an Iron Curtain speech. And the Iron Curtain is a symbolic division. It is not the wall, the Berlin Wall. Those are two different things. And the Iron Curtain is going to symbolize this division between the east here and the west. So you can notice that on this map it's red and green. It's very clearly divided into two zones. So a little bit more on that later. If you want to listen to Churchill's speech, I would recommend it. All these little videos I put on here to try to give you a little more context to help you out with stuff. It's a very famous speech. All right, now this slide I'm not going to go over so much with you. I put this here, it's very text heavy. I put this here so you can read through in addition to your textbook reading. Sorry, it's cut off a little at the bottom. But try to give you some context on communism versus capitalism. Please read through this and then ask questions as needed. I'm happy to go over this more with you guys as you need it. And then this as well, also kind of text heavy. So look at it and then ask me questions as you have them. All right, love this chart. I'm sorry it's cut off at the bottom. That's unfortunate, but you can look at it on the notes part. Oh, maybe I can move it. Okay, hopefully will work. So this very cool. Now the top doesn't work. All right, technology, you guys know. All right, well, whatever, it is what it is. But take a look at this chart. It is kind of text heavy here for you, but it's very cool. And this does show you the reality of the situation with the nuclear technology and the nuclear weapons that were around in the world. This is from 1984, but it's just mind-blowing, I think. All right, let's see. No, this doesn't want to work.